Hi guys, it's Sonelias and welcome back to this Let's Play of Hearts of Iron number 4. As you might remember from the last episode, we had just conquered basically Belgium as well as Luxembourg, and we are now basically at the precipice of actually getting into a war, as you can see, with France. So let's actually get into this. So we're actually joining the Axis, as you can see, and of course because of that we are in a war. We're in a war with, well, at least we will be shortly. We will be now joining the war with France as well as the UK. Now, we already had our troops stationed at the border with France, so we should relatively quickly be able to push through into France itself. That's how quickly we can actually start taking some of their key cities. My key drive here is to actually try to take as much of France as I can. As you can see, I set my first orders to actually try to push towards Paris. Paris, of course, should be our key driver because that gets actually the most victory points here. And you'll see on the eastern side there, the Germans are trying to push through into some of the occupied territories. Some of my troops are actually doing the same as well, which is a bit unfortunate because they'll actually incur significant losses there. Now, luckily we are getting some land leases here from Italy in this instance. We should also be able to see that we're having quite good success, at least in the western parts of the campaign against France. You see fighters over the terrain there. Now, hopefully our own fighters will be able to mitigate some of the actual British bombers and so forth, which will try to basically incur damage on us. We also see there is another land lease option. Or is that land lease, or is that maybe volunteers at the top from Spain? Let's get those two divisions. Alright, Calais is being split off from the rest. It looks like someone is trying to cross the channel, and then we have got an engagement in the channel that's ongoing. But because we're pushing so nicely into France, we are capturing quite a few factories at this point. And those factories can straight away be put to good use. Alright, Paris will be ours in not too much time now. Particularly when we basically use the trucks to basically push through into there. Perfect, Paris is ours. Now let's make sure that we actually retain it. But in the meantime, of course, you should see that also some of the French troops are steadily going westwards. So I'm trying to basically create some encirclements here, try to create some nice routes for our trucks and armies to take to basically try to push as far into France as we can. Because they had most of their troops on the eastern border with Belgium. Sorry, not with Belgium, with Germany, to try to, of course, fend off the aggressive Germans. Now, we're taking the exact opposite approach here. We were the neutral party. We quickly joined the Axis, and then very, very quickly after, we actually joined in the war here with the French as well as the British. So we're getting into this war relatively quickly here. Alright, French troops are moving relatively quickly as well, but luckily we got pretty good dug-in troops already in Paris, so they're not going to be able to push us out, hopefully. Other bits here, Reims is being attacked by two of our units. We just got a new unit that became available, so let's make that part of one of the other divisions. And those other divisions are not really being used, so let's try to basically put more of those on the front line itself. Now, I'm going to increase the number of factories dedicated towards the production of fighters. I want to have a sufficiently large fighter production facility up and running. Particularly since the British are a big bulwark of fighters and bombers and so forth. So I want to be able to intercept them and deal with them. Now, one of the other things I will want to do in the near future is I want to, of course, build some radar stations along the coast, so at least I can see them before they actually get too close. And at least my own planes will be able to take off on time to intercept them. But before that actually happens, let's first deal with, of course, the French here. Now, I got quite a few troops moving around there. I'm trying to basically exploit some of their weaker spots there. And as you can see, we are getting more and more resistance as, of course, the French are pushing more and more westward here. So I'm kind of hoping that I can actually, create a deep pocket into their territory. At least take ownership of as much of their territory as possible. As you can see, I still got some troops there. I'm not sure. Okay, maybe because of course that particular army doesn't have any orders to basically attack. That kind of makes sense. So I'm actually manually having to assign orders to that particular division there. And these guys here, of course, in the motorized pool, they are very quickly getting experience because, of course, all the engagements they're getting involved in. Now, Leo Belgicus is doing quite nicely at this point, it looks like. So where we started off as the Netherlands, then we became the Dutch Reich. Now we are Leo Belgicus. And now Leo Belgicus, the territory we owned just a minute ago, pretty much encompassed most of what was the original Netherlands back in the, what is it, early days, when I guess in the Burgundian era. And then, yeah, the French had a claim to some of the southern parts and so forth, but yeah. Ultimately, what we're trying to basically do here is we're trying to go beyond that territory that I consider to be the original Netherlands in that sense. So we're trying to basically expand our territory here, or expand our hold. We're going to take those various different cities. I'm trying to basically create manual move orders here, so at least I can very quickly, at least that's the intent, move deeper into the proper French terrain. Now, one of the things you'll also see if I look at the northern parts of what we see here, at least my borders with France there, you see more and more German as well as Italian units getting involved there as well. Okay, so we're steadily pushing more into Normandy there as well. So we're trying to basically take the coastline opposite the British. Now we've actually suffered 5.7 thousand in terms of losses. The French have not suffered as much. They've only suffered 819 losses in terms of manpower. And that was mostly inflicted by us. It hasn't been inflicted by any of the Germans thus far, at least thus far. But that will change, of course, as time progresses. Apologies about that. What is that? Alright. Still more and more troops been pushing in, and as you can see, I've got a division that's moving deeper and deeper in. It's kind of cut off Brittany there from the rest of France. Well, almost cut it off. The intent here really is to basically try to take that full coastline of Brittany, Normandy, and so forth there. To try at least to if it comes to a situation where we have to split the country with the Germans, at least we got the coastline and hopefully part of the more industrialized parts of France in our hands. Now, because of our deep pushes into this territory here, you see that at the moment we are the current owners, or occupiers maybe I should say, of large chunks of French territory. And that should hopefully serve us well later on. But at the moment that also gives us quite a few factories that we actually will be able to use in this part here. Right. As you can see, that the French are pushing further and further along the lines here. I'm trying to basically take as many of the exposed or open sections that are basically along the line there. Perfect. So we got that fully cut off. Brittany. And now basically I just need to take Brittany itself. So I got a nice line I created here. Just need to make sure the French don't retake it. And of course I need to take that hinterland that's now behind that line as such. A lot of my divisions were actually engaged with the French, more on the eastern part of the front there. And I'm trying to basically shift those more and more towards the western part of the front. Because yeah, I've got a lot of traction, a lot of movement on the western part of the front here. Did they just retake Paris? No, actually not. It's the suburbs of Paris that they actually have taken there. Okay, so Paris itself is still in my hands, but yeah, I just want to try to take those suburbs there. Alright, and as we're doing this, I see more and more divisions still coming online. Because I'm still training more and more divisions as such. So our first general is at 24 out of 24. We've got two other ones which are relatively small at the moment, and yeah, they don't have actual generals assigned to them yet. I've actually invested the political points to actually put a general in charge of them. Which, yeah, probably would have been better if I did assign a general to them, but yeah, I didn't get around to that. And the tense that I'm basically using to speak about this is because I'm doing this voiceover at the moment after I've actually done the recording of the gameplay, when I had some issue with the audio itself. So yeah, my voice was lost. So I still have the actual images. I'm trying to basically, of course, give commentary here at the moment. Now, most of the time when I'm playing games, I basically try to do the commentary as I'm playing it. Just in this particular instance, that didn't turn out to be possible because of some technical issues. Anyways, as you can see, we're doing quite nicely here around Paris. Again, we were able to push back a couple of the French sections there. And again, I'm trying to basically create little sections here or portions where we can actually take land bit by bit. And it looks like they had some French troops, or maybe they just recruited those. Could be. There are some French troops in Brittany. Probably they had them there, but yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that. Anyways, just issuing more orders here. It looks like Poland is capitulated. That of course means that Germany is now in full control of Poland and has got a nice eastern border with Russia. Right, now after they've done that, they probably will be able to shift more of their troops towards this western front, or at least what is their western front. It's our southern front really, because yeah, we were situated north of France, so it's our southern front. And it looks like we're getting a nice push into the French territory here now. Even on the eastern part, so near Luxembourg, we have got some advances that were basically successful, it looks like. We're trying to take out the airfield there, because yeah, the airfield is giving support to the French troops. If we take out the airfield, that means that the planes will have to travel further to get to the front line. As you can see, there's fighters overhead, and they should probably be Fokkers, but I'm not 100% sure on that. As you can see, there's yeah, provinces, sections of the map that are empty, so there's no French units there. So I'm trying to basically take more and more of those, and I'm trying to basically create a push towards Vichy here with some of those motorized units. They should be the most mobile of my units. They should be able to move quickest through the terrain, as long as of course it's got the right kind of terrain that we're moving through. So that will not be the case for mountains and so forth. Looks like we suffered about 13,000 in terms of losses there. Thus far in the war effort, I should maybe say. Okay, so we got some Italian units in the terrain that we occupied here. They will help defend it from any advances by the French or the British if they were to basically move any troops into this terrain here. And we're moving nicely down here. So more and more of Brittany is being occupied by us. And at the same time, the line that we had created that basically cut off Brittany from the rest, we're trying to push that further south as well as eastward at the same time. Luckily the Germans are helping in one of these attacks here. They got some tanks. I presume that at least they look like light tanks, but they could potentially be medium tanks helping us out there. I don't think I actually got any tank units here yet. No, that's more regular army units. Divisions. Okay. That's really the main fighting force. Some of the divisions slightly become more greener, even though they had originally been fully trained up. They became more green because of the fact that we basically assigned some extra support divisions to them, which actually lowered the average experience of the units. Alright, so looks like the British are actually invading Ghent here. So luckily we got some German units close by. We'll be able to divert some of these units of my own towards that section. Hopefully we'll be able to retake Ghent without too much efforts there. And as you can see, Brest is the current capital of France. So where Paris used to be the capital, that's now been shifted to Brest. Probably because that's furthest away from their eastern front line. And as you can see, I've now gone back to South America here, where we of course had Suriname, or at least present-day Suriname, which is a Dutch colony in the era of this gameplay here. And I'm basically trying to move some of those divisions into their neighboring French province there, as well as of course the British provinces that are there. At least take those out of the equation. And I will be then the sole owner of that territory. Alright. As you can see, we're basically trying to get enough divisions to engage some of the French ones here. The numbers are still mostly green. There is a little bit of red there on some of them. And that's where typically they've got some of their tanks involved. And their tanks are, they got very, very strong armor. So our weaponry is not really that effective against their tanks. Now we're still slowly wearing them down, even though of course we're not able to penetrate them. But we would have been a lot more effective if we had the correct type of weapons, or if they just didn't have as much armor. Right. Slowly moving into there, as you can see. Issuing further orders to the individual units here. To try to basically, take as much of this as possible, this territory here. And the French are trying to counterattack here, it looks like. But we're holding them off quite nicely, which is great. Lots more battles on the English Channel there. Look at that one motorized division that we pushed into Vichy. Let's see if we can basically take some of the other provinces behind the front line at the moment. To basically try to encircle some of those French units. Trojet. Alright, we should be able to take that city. And again, that should give us more factories. And as you can see, we already have a surplus of military factories at the moment, and we just need to allocate those. Hopefully I'll get down to that in just a minute. But you also see our nice fighters flying overhead. Alright, let's see, what can we assign them to? Let's start using that new functionality of basically having more than just 15 factories for a particular item. Of course, we're assigning more towards our weapon production. Right, Ghent. We're still, well, actually they seem to have been reinforced slightly there. So there's 2 divisions there, British divisions there now. But at the moment we got German, as well as Spanish, as well as our own divisions engaging them there right now. Alright, we got our submarines engaging their units over there in the English Channel. Looks like the French fleet is trying to basically get away from there. We pushed them out of their ports here. Alright, a lot of the units are only slowly moving. It looks like we create nice divisions or nice splits here, which hopefully help us win these bits of terrain a lot quicker. Alright, German units are actually moving in as well, so that should help us as well. Alright, looks like Vichy was retaken by the French. And at least in the western part of France, we're pushing downwards really, really nicely now. Bordeaux is in our sights as well. So Limoges should be taken here first. They got no defending unit, so we're using again one of our motorized units to try to push into there, take that territory. All right, so we surrounded a single one of their divisions here. But that should, of course, lead to a total destruction of that unit, which is of course, great. Because, if you keep on engaging them and then basically pushing them back, you have to re-engage them and push them back. So if you actually take them out of the battle entirely, it's, of course, more optimal. You'll have less issues with them later on. That's really one of the key ideas behind Blitzkrieg. You want to be able to surround your enemy bit by bit to try to basically take out whole divisions or if not whole armies. Right. The border is being defended sufficiently, and as you can see, Metz, that's really the eastern part there of the front. It's not really seeing any movement there because they got fortifications and so forth. So we're not trying to do much with those at all. Right, looks like the British have landed. And there's more French units there now as well in Brest, or at least in Brittany, I should say. Right, let's have a look over here in South America. We have taken the French territory here. Now we are suffering losses here, but that's still manageable. Once we've taken all this terrain, I will set the units here to basically garrison that with the land. And as you can see, one of the key resources we're getting from here is aluminum. And of course the aluminum is used in our fighter production. Dutch East Indies. So we're still getting resources from the Dutch East Indies, but we're at the same time also suffering losses because of course the British intercepting our convoys. Alright. As you can see again, one of our motorized units is really pushing deeper down, which of course is great. La Rochelle, which was of course famous for having was it famous for having those the German submarine bunkers? I think it was, at least in the real Second World War. I think it was the La Rochelle there. And for some reason I'm seeing Italian units there, which are actually in French territory. But they're just standing there. Are the Italians not at war with the French? Probably not. So I suspect it's at the moment only the Germans and not the Italians that are actually at war. Which is a bit of a pity. And I seem to have made a bit of a mistake there in terms of movements of units. Okay, I'm taking too many of them at the same time. Which means I'm taking some of those away from the front line with Brittany. Which probably I should not have done. So let's reallocate those to the engagements that we got ongoing here. And again, I see lots of Italian units in my territory here, at least my occupied territory. Let's hope they're going to be able to help me out. Lots of German units now also in my territory here. Because we are the key drivers into the French territory at the moment. Still got a total manpower of 115,000 at the moment. Hopefully that number will steadily go up as we basically see the percentage going up as well. So we're not taking the full workforce, or at least the full potential percentage of manpower at the moment. I think we got that up to a potential manpower of 7.5. I think we're at 4.6 at the moment only. Yeah, and these divisions are of course manpower heavy. So again, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to encircle some of those units there if we can. So if I'm able to retake Vichy, maybe I can surround some of those again. It looks like here near Bordeaux we got some units again that we're surrounding steadily. Alright, we're getting deeper into the southern parts of France. I'm not sure why the French haven't surrendered yet. That would really make sense if they did, but okay. Alright. Let's try to retake, well, at least not retake, but let's try to take control of more of their key cities here along the western coastline. Alright, we're pushing for Vichy again. We're still pushing into Brittany. Here, these units that are surrounded. And hopefully be able to obliterate them. What do we got there? What is that? Ah, yes. Of course, that is the colonial section of the Dutch territory here. The Dutch Congo, or what is formerly known as the Belgian Congo. It's now the Dutch Congo. I'm not sure why it's not the Leo Belgicus Congo, but okay, that's fine. Leo Belgicus is in control of this section here. Now I'm just basically putting the units that I got in this territory in a brand new theater, and at the center I'm also putting them in a brand new army, and of course underneath a brand new field marshal. I will of course assign generals and field marshals to those later on. For now we're doing quite nicely here in our engagement. And look at that, we got a nice, I guess we pretty much doubled our territory that we got. Germany's got interest in Scandinavia, that's good. Does that mean they're going to get into a war there? I'm not entirely sure. Alright, let's see. Pushing into there further southwards. Another encirclement there near Paris. Luxembourg is still ours. It looks like Bitburg is right next to it, which is, yeah, of course, German. The Germans have not been able to push through, it looks like. The German Reich declares war on Denmark. Interesting. So Denmark joins the Allies. And the question is, have they actually got troops stationed near Denmark? I'm not sure they have. Okay, let's try to at least engage whatever troops are there in Brest at the moment. Whether those are French, German, Italian. We want to take Brest. And it looks like I don't have enough divisions here at the moment, so I might want to basically take some of my divisions from other places to push them towards Brest. I'll probably push them all down here to basically push down the southern part of the front line. It looks like there's not much space between us and Spain left. Now let's try to basically take as much of the Mediterranean coastline as we can as well. German Reich declares war on Norway. So first it was Denmark and then it's Norway. That's really in quick succession, isn't it? Alright, our engagement here near Paris is progressing slowly. I'm just going to put a few extra divisions onto that to basically try to get that done. Alright, they're trying to break out as well, it looks like. So we're trying to attack from that little section there. Okay, combat losses here. Equipment losses as well. Wow. Some through attrition and some through actual combat. Win ratio is pretty decent, I would say. You actually see the full combat log of all the individual engagements we've had. The amount of manpower that was lost in each individual engagement there. We've still got a manpower base of 123,000 now. So that's crept up slightly. Is it now 100? Yeah, 123 still. It's crept up compared to what we had earlier. Was it 115? Now it's 124. So it could be that it's the percentage that's going up, but it could also be, of course, that we're basically occupying more French territory with, of course, more potential recruitable population there. Now, getting recruitable population from your core territories, of course, is quite a different story compared to getting it from occupied territory. Occupied territory just doesn't give you as much manpower as the rest would. Or as your core territory would. That's maybe the better way of saying it. Now, having the appropriate ministers in your cabinet actually helps with that. I'll talk a bit more about that later on. Alright, we're setting the movement orders here of our motorized divisions to try to basically go through Marseille and Toulon. Looks like they've taken on some of our convoys. Alright. Right. Now all divisions there near Paris were taken care of. Now we got a new recruited unit here and we're basically assigning it again to one of the army groups that we basically got here in the Dutch East Indies. Alright, so let's have a look at our recruitment list here. It looks like there is an option for the actual armored divisions, but we're not doing anything with that yet. But we are still recruiting, of course, more troops here in Indonesia to, of course, basically try to provide, yeah, at least a home guard of some sort, or national guard, if you want to call it that. But look at that, the Belgicus, that top section here, which is the Netherlands, Belgium, and Luxembourg. And of course that large chunk of French occupied terrain is expanding our color across this sway of the Western European map. Alright, let's allocate more factories towards weapon production and so forth. A lot of production going on. But yeah, with that production, of course, also comes the requirement for us to have sufficient resources to actually be able to do that. Think, for example, of having sufficient steel, having sufficient aluminum, etc., etc., etc. Right, we're not having too much luck in around Brest at the moment. Yeah, we probably need to put more troops into that, but let's do that later. Let's first get more of the actual territory in our own hands here. If you look behind the front line, you see lots and lots of German units once again. Just looking at the leader details, I was kind of hoping I'd be able to at least assign some extra skills to them. But yeah, we don't have that. Let's get at least some more generals now assigned to these other units here. Alright, we're just moving it into a different set of units that we want to basically get the appropriate general assigned to. Alright. We're doing quite nicely, I would say, particularly if you look at the amount of territory we're trying to occupy here. Light tank number 2, we're developing, or at least building them now as well. We're doing quite a few of them for reinforcement purposes. Is that because we changed the composition of our units? I'm not entirely sure why that was. Anyways, we're getting very close to the end of what I would probably call the current episode here, where we're actually trying to drive into a large chunk of this French terrain. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this particular episode thus far, where we're actually taking more and more ownership of the French terrain here. It looks like the Spanish are moving troops towards their border. Or maybe they had them along the border already, but I didn't see them earlier. But at least we are seeing them now. Guys, thanks again for joining me. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. And yeah, do leave some comments down below. And in the meantime, take care. Bye-bye.